Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Anthony Frazier, here for Movie Man Productions. And as usual, I am joined by my two favorite boys.
What's up, guys? Ethan Vargas.
We're keeping that in.
The funny thing is, what did he say?
And it's me, Nathan Hairston, as always, holding it down.
Ethan was just like,
dude, why were you
Ethan Vargas?
Yeah, why was that a question? Like
Ethan Vargas?
And here's the thing, that was a great setup. Anthony gave you a great lead in for that. Hey guys, welcome back. It's Anthony Frazier, Movie Man Productions. As always, my boys, Ethan Vargas, I think.
Line.
Let me defend myself. Okay, so I'm looking up stuff for the topic that we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I wasn't listening.
So that made you forget your name?
I wasn't listening to what he was saying, and I was like, wait, did I overspeak?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know, or like if you were gonna talk first or whatever. So screw you guys. Whatever. What's up, guys? My name is Well, okay, fine. I'll just be like,
What's up, guys?
It's Ethan Vargas.
Sure. We're keeping it in.
All right.
I got
what do
Ethan,
we got,
Nathan as usual.
What do we got on the docket for
you
today?
Do that before?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'll just introduce you guys from now on, I guess.
Since Ethan forgets his own name, apparently.
Apparently so.
It's difficult. Okay, I got like 4 names.
No chargers, no battery life, and no name.
Don't bring that up. Don't bring that up. But I have like 4 different names. So, all together.
Right.
So it's like very confusing.
You got Ethan Fart Gas.
Oh. Wow.
That's my favorite.
In front of the girl? Come on.
Oh. Man.
So Anthony, what do we got on the podcast today?
Guys, what do you think? Okay, first off,
worst rap.
We're going to be talking
albums
about
ever, right?
Oh, okay. Well,
Well,
I was going to say that we're going to be talking today about probably one of the biggest movie spectacles of our generation.
Shazam.
Yeah, maybe of all time even.
Shazam, yes.
Shazam? The biggest movie to ever grace the big screen. Shazam.
Zachary Levi as Shazam.
Zachary Levi as Shazam.
Zachary. No, but I don't know about you. Well, I do know you guys, but I saw Endgame. I know you guys did.
Yeah.
That was. Boy, we've got a lot to talk about today. That's all I'm going to say. Oh, my God.
But before we get too deep into the podcast, I want to let everyone listening know that the first portion is going to be spoiler-free. We're just going to talk about our spoiler-free review of the movie and then what we thought about our experience with that and then talk about some of the box office stuff. And then we'll give you guys a big old spoiler warning before we start talking about
it. Was good.
The whole movie
so, spoilers.
yeah.
Spoilers. Everyone dies.
So here's the thing. Now we have to cut that out because people.
I just like beep it. I just like bleep it. It's just not even a spoiler at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just beep it. We'll beep it. That's fine.
You can buy Infinity War gear.
And also, hey, okay, I need you guys to like watch me because I'm gonna call this movie Infinity War a lot on accident,
dude. Just like Resident Evil.
Oh my God! Okay.
Oh, those haven't come out yet.
I will never.
It's gonna be great.
And like,
oh my God!
I kept saying,
it's like okay, it's literally not worse than Ethan saying, "Hey, check the cool boys. Hey, check the cool boys. Hey, check the cool boys."
Okay, listen.
Like, really?
Listen.
Drag me, why don't you?
It is Star Wars: Attack of the Clone Wars.
Not, you're wrong.
It's not Attack of the Clone Wars.
Yes, it is. They are attacking.
It's Attack of the Clones.
Wars.
No, there's no wars in that. I'm not doing this with you right now.
There was a war. Okay, there were wars.
He's getting red. Oh, you got a little bit like red right there.
When a black dude gets red, you know it's time to stop. Oh man. Okay, so
Tyrone get angry.
So Shazam.
Like right. Jamal getting upset. No. So
Jamal getting upset.
Let's dive right in. There's a lot to talk about the movie. God damn it, Anthony, relax. There's a lot to talk about the movie. What did you guys think about seeing the movie? Again, just remember, there's no spoilers.
Well, first off, to be honest, that movie. Okay, so I don't know, man. I don't know what I was expecting because honestly, the marketing for this movie. It was just so like it was so different.
A superhero movie.
It was so different because it was like they didn't show anything in the trailers.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't show anything for us. And then like going in was like a big surprise because I always wanted to see something like that, and I know Marvel could definitely pull something off that like that off because Disney, not Marvel.
Yeah.
But
I was kind of in the same mindset because I kind of like what you said. They didn't really show much of anything in the trailers, and then I think everyone, we took the little information that we had, and I know that they released like a little sneak peek of like a tiny snippet of a scene.
Yeah.
But that also kind of gave us nothing, you know, and so everyone kind of went into this movie just more anxious to see it because we had no idea what was really gonna happen, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, like, but honestly, I had a lot of fun with this. What is funny?
Okay.
What's so funny?
The lights were about to go out.
The lights in the room that we're in just like started turning off because they're like motion sensor.
We started like waving our hands everywhere.
Nosferatu.
The lights will flicker on and off, and the walls will ooze green slime. Oh wait, they always do that.
No. But one of the things that I kind of like thought was interesting as looking at the trailers of both Infinity War and the Endgame is that they are very similar. But we just have different ideas of it. Is because Infinity War, essentially we already knew what was going to be happening.
Right.
With this one, we have some of an idea because I will say there are a lot of theories out there that are very kind of spot on.
Yeah.
So it's
exactly.
it's
A lot of
very
the predictions
interesting.
for the movie that especially with the Nerdist people.
Yes.
The Nerdist guys, they did their homework. They got a lot of stuff right.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
So it's interesting to see that.
I got a question for you guys though.
yeah.
What was your experiences like going to go see this movie? Like, was it anything special or like any funny stories like when me and Ethan saw Endgame? It was like the worst.
Yeah.
It was in Infinity War and it was like the worst thing ever.
Yeah, I was listening. I will say this.
I forgot about that.
I saw Infinity War, or I was listening to the podcast that we did on Infinity War before we came here because I was kind of refreshing on what we did and everything.
Right.
And I said, I saw it in 3D.
Yeah.
Son of a gun.
Yeah.
Did it again. Because
man.
I couldn't get any tickets for this.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
It was really hard.
Yeah.
I had to.
There were so many seats for the 3D though.
Yeah, I was lucky enough that like my school and music stuff didn't interfere, so I was able to go in the middle of the day, like during the week.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of surprised that I could even get tickets to that, and even then it was like almost completely sold out.
Where'd you go?
I went to AMC.
Oh, okay.
Here in Tulsa, but
Yeah.
for me personally, and Ethan and I were talking about this on the way into our room where we're at.
Yeah.
For me, Endgame was kind of a big deal because I've talked about it a lot on the podcast before that like I used to collect comic books very seriously. Like I've got a lot of stuff with my uncle in Rhode Island. There were just long boxes and long boxes full of old comics and stuff and things that we've collected over all of the years since I was like maybe 7 or 8 or 9.
Yeah, that's same.
And so I remember I was 12 years old when the first Iron Man movie came out in 2008. And I remember going to see that with my dad. And like I knew who Iron Man was, but most people didn't know. Nobody like gave a shit about Iron Man.
Yeah.
And so seeing a superhero like that done so well on the big screen where everybody was starting to really like and get into the shit that I was into was a big deal. And then, I mean, here we are 11 years later. I'm 23, and now all of this work that they've done is coming to a head and coming to a point and is finally closing out this chapter of what they're doing. It was a huge deal, and it was really cool to like. I've seen every single one of the movies in theaters. It was just cool to kind of like end it on such a strong note. Yeah. And they did such a great job too.
Oh yeah.
I have very little complaints about what's going on. We'll get into that later, I'm sure, for everybody. But but for me, that was just such a really special thing. And I never do this because I typically love spoilers, but I avoided a lot of the trailers because I wanted to go in completely at the mercy of whatever Marvel was going to throw at me. Same. And it definitely, that was definitely the right decision. And even if I was going to look at the trailers, a lot of it didn't reveal much. I went and watched most of the trailers after I saw the movie.
It's just like a lot of action.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot of substance to the overall movie there, and so it was great. I had a wonderful time, and I saw it like the movie started at 12:30, and I didn't get out of the movie theater till 4 because the movie was so long.
Yeah, it's almost. I think it is like 2:59.
It's a touch over 3 hours.
Yeah, it's like 3 hours and 1 minute.
I thought it was like 2:59. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, but so I had a wonderful time, and I'm really excited for what Marvel has coming next.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
Well, okay. So in the past, I always griped about Marvel, because I thought Phase 2 was pretty shitty and all that. And for the longest, I was like, I was out of the whole Marvel movie gang, I was just like, they're just like these annual franchises. But like seeing this film, it didn't feel like this was just any film, any Marvel film at all. This felt like there was so much love, and there's so much there's things that they put in this film that were in previous films that everyone forgot about. But they did their homework and they put it in there, and they're like, hey, we know you guys love these franchises, we've been doing this for 11 years now. Yeah. We want to show you our appreciation to you. And I was like, that this movie felt really genuine to the fans and all that. And Nathan, like you, I remember literally, dude, I remember fucking oh crap, I already cussed. I remember when I forgot how old. It was when Transformers first came out, and I had it on DVD.
Yeah.
And I was looking at I go to the extras behind the scenes stuff, and I saw trailers, and I saw one for Iron Man. Like the very first teaser for Iron Man. I was like, ooh, this might be pretty cool. And then just seeing like how far it's came, and where it all ended now. Like this was great. This was like a really great experience. This was this was a once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah, and plus, like I was doing a tiny bit of research into like how the whole universe for Marvel got started, and also I don't think people realize Robert Downey Jr. was in a whole heap of trouble before he became Iron Man, and being Iron Man and getting cast as Iron Man saved his career,
for sure.
and also and even more, and he would have probably gone on to do more movies and been pretty successful.
Right. I mean, he was doing Sherlock Holmes at that moment, right?
It was kind of close to the same time, I think.
Yeah.
But the Marvel movies saved Marvel from not existing.
Exactly.
Like Marvel, I mean, obviously comic books physically have not been selling as well. They probably are now because of all the movies and stuff. Yeah. But before 2008, not really. And so Iron Man, if it was gonna flop, Marvel wouldn't have, they would have eventually fizzled out. A lot of comic book companies probably would have, you know. Yeah. And then Iron Man being such a huge box office smash, really catapulted Robert Downey Jr. from being not an A-lister, even kind of, to being an all-star actor, and catapulted Marvel into being this multi-billion-dollar company. It's absurd. It's crazy.
Well, before that, they even had the X-Men movies, and those did all right, but they weren't as
Those did okay, but I mean, and I know they did do well. They did do well, but it was it's just
it didn't
crazy
push
to think
them
about
to
that.
the limit of Iron Man. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Yeah,
so
no, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. But no, okay, and also, okay, let's give props to Jon Favreau though, man. Because that's the dude who freaking started it all, man.
Him and Robert Downey are the dads of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And I think especially, I mean, Robert Downey Jr. gets a lot of credit as the guy who helmed the Marvel universe into being what it is, and that's true. We should give him that credit. But a lot of that wouldn't have been done without Jon Favreau. Yes. Jon Favreau, his vision for that movie and what he wanted and what he did, working closely with guys like Avi Arad, who produces a lot of the stuff at Marvel, and the higher-ups at Marvel like Kevin Feige, dude, they deserve way more credit than they get.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, guys, I am so you don't know how excited I am to talk about this movie in depth right now. Oh my god. Yeah, I am there's so many scenes I want to discuss with you guys, especially my favorite scene I told Ethan about. And I do think Ethan told me his favorite scene. Nathan, I'm pretty sure I know your favorite scene too, just because
Wait, did I tell you my
you
favorite
told
scene?
Me your favorite scene. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if you guys can guess my favorite scene.
I know it. I know for sure. Okay.
Oh, okay, we'll get there. Yeah. We'll get there. I have a list right here, just for people who don't realize the scope of the universe, which most people do, but it's easy to forget how much they've done.
There's so much.
So going from phases, phase 1 is from 2008 to 2012. It's Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor, Captain America, the first one, and the original Avengers from 2012.
Did Incredible Hulk come out before?
I thought that was like the second one that came out, like after Iron Man.
The Incredible Hulk came out, I think, the same year as Iron Man.
Okay, yeah, that would make a lot.
It just wasn't good at all. It was with Edward Norton.
That one.
Yeah. It was. That one
because
was
it's the only one.
That great.
That's why.
Okay, well there was the Eric Bana one that was really boring.
Yeah, that one was rough.
That was rough.
Yeah. Phase 2 is Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World, Captain America: Winter Soldier, The First Guardians of the Galaxy, Age of Ultron, and then Ant-Man. Which, honestly, I know that's phase 2, but that doesn't seem like that was all that long ago.
Yeah. Ant-Man feels like it's been pretty close.
It hasn't been all that long. Phase 3 is the longest. It's got the most movies in it. It's Captain America: Civil War, Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Spider-Man: Homecoming, Thor: Ragnarok, Black Panther, Infinity War, the second Ant-Man movie. Yeah, this is all phase 3. Whoa. Captain Marvel, Endgame, and then the soon-to-be-released Spider-Man: Far From Home. And that will conclude phase 3.
Okay, I heard a rumor that Far From Home is supposed to be set after Endgame.
You know what? I thought originally it was supposed to be in the time between Infinity War and... Or the time between Homecoming and the Avengers Infinity War.
That's what I thought, too.
But I think it might actually be...
After. Yeah, which is weird.
Which, if they're smart, I think they would put it after because we would get a great... I almost said a big spoiler. But we would get a lot of the great interaction with... Peter Parker in the aftermath of everything that happens in Endgame.
Right.
It would be really cool to see how someone like that
copes with
being such a young person copes with like the magnitude of what just happened.
Going back to school.
I mean, like
doing all that stuff.
It's not a spoiler to say that he was dead, and then whatever. So but so it's crazy. But I mean that's a lot of movies, man. That's a ton of work and. Like years and years and years, over a decade of work. So give it up for Marvel, man.
Yeah.
Those guys are doing it right.
Yeah, they killed it. I'm not gonna lie, this movie was amazing. It had me. Oh my god! I just can't wait to talk about it. But first, we need to take a little break. I need to kind of relocate a bit. I was recording in the car, so now I'm gonna go back inside. So if you give us a few seconds, we'll be right back. And we're back, everyone. Sorry for the no wait you guys had, but
the literal zero wait time.
But we are going.
It's been 3 years our time.
3 years. And if you're still listening 3 years later, we salute you because that's some dedication right there.
Because we stopped.
We stopped.
We stopped listening. We've just been.
We got on with our lives.
Yeah, and you should too. This is the actual end. This is the end game. There we go.
Boo, 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 boo.
Oh man.
Man. So okay, so let's check out the box office because I'm a little curious about this.
Yeah. So as I'm sure both of you know, and most people listening know, that Endgame was projected to shatter a lot of box office records.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that it did. I'm looking at some of the statistics right now. Let's start off with some domestic stuff. So, it had the biggest domestic opening weekend of all time.
I could see.
And the opening weekend, I'm assuming they're counting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah. Or even maybe Thursday because they opened up on Thursday.
So if you're counting the Thursday night premiere and then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Just domestic, so I'm assuming that's just the U.S.
Right.
It's $350 million, which is a big opening weekend.
That is huge.
Yeah, and it's the first film to ever cross the 300 million mark on an opening weekend. So that's also a big deal. It was also the fastest film to $100 million in 17 hours.
But you were going to say seconds.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, in 17 milliseconds. Yeah, so...
I didn't even see the movie yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like we said, it opened on Thursday, and so it had the highest Thursday premiere previews, which was $60 million.
Right.
It had the biggest single grossing day in movie history with $156 million on Friday, April 26th. It's the biggest all-time Saturday as well.
Wow.
With $109 million on the 27th and the biggest all-time Sunday on the 28th, the following day. It was the widest ever release, reaching 4,662 theaters. Remember, this is just the U.S. And it also had the biggest IMAX opening at $26.5 million.
What about 4D?
Now, if we're switching over to global.
Oh, man.
So this is everybody, including the U.S.
Right.
Even China?
Antarctica?
Yes.
Africa?
Okay, guys. So
Wakanda?
this had the biggest opening.
Wakanda? Asgard?
Nuke? Oh, never mind. I almost spoiled it.
Did you just say? I was about to say Nuketown. I'm like, well, Nuketown too.
First of all, wrong IP.
Yeah.
Okay, so it had the biggest opening weekend of all time. Right?
Okay.
Again, the weekend is Thursday night,
Right.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It made $1.2 billion.
Are you fucking
Opening
serious?
weekend.
I'll let that one
1.2
slide.
billion.
Oh my god.
Wow.
So
Are
just
you, okay, guys, do you think that this is gonna freaking take out Avatar?
No.
well,
As
here's
being the number one.
I think it might have a pretty decent shot.
Have they
But
already?
here's the
Okay.
thing. It would take people going to re-see it multiple times, which will
That
probably
day.
happen anyway,
Okay.
to make it. But so here's what I want to say. I also pulled up the list of the highest grossing movies of all time. Obviously, Avatar is still number one
Right.
with $2.7 billion, right?
Yeah.
Guess where Avengers Endgame is?
Number 2.
Number 3.
It's number 17
Oh.
Oh.
after essentially 3 days.
You even told me the second one. I forgot. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, which is crazy. Titanic is still number 2, and I think Infinity War is number 3. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So
I think number 2 was.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Sorry. Number 1 is Avatar. Number 2 is Titanic. Number 3 is The
Shazam.
Force Awakens. And then number 4
Oh.
is Infinity War.
right.
I think number 5 is actually Cars 3.
Why?
No, it's Jurassic World.
I mean,
Okay,
that's
well,
also like a why. Like
Yeah, no, he's making a joke because that movie is actual garbage.
they're both garbage. Like that's like saying The Room is number 1. That's not
Yeah,
like
for
come
real.
on, dude.
Other than making $1.2 billion the opening weekend, as if that wasn't enough, it was also the first film to cross $1 billion on an opening weekend.
God.
It was also the fastest film to ever reach $1 billion. Guess how long it took him?
17 seconds. I'm calling it. Like
18 seconds.
Do you guys have real guesses, or just for me to tell you?
I thought you already told us.
I'll
Nope.
say an hour. I'll say an hour.
No. That was that was the fastest film to sell out for like
Oh.
No.
one day.
10 minutes. I'll say 10.
It took only
I'll say
5.
2 hours.
It took only 5 days to reach $1 billion.
5 days. Yeah, 5 days. Like I said, 5 days.
I thought you were gonna say 5 minutes. I was gonna be like,
And and it also had the biggest IMAX opening and the biggest 3D opening. And international, I'm assuming that's not including the U.S.
okay.
is $859 million,
Good.
which
God.
is just ridiculous.
That's some.
And
man,
the,
that's
I mean,
some serious
all
bank.
the things I'm saying are like records that they've broken, and that's not even all of them. Like they
Right.
have all the records. Well, not all of them. They have other records listed for like China. It's the biggest opening weekend in China too. It's crazy.
That's
but
crazy.
$1.2 billion in 5 days, only on an opening weekend, and those 5 days are including the pre-sale as well.
Okay.
So that technically the
I was
5
wondering
days
about that.
extends before the opening weekend.
Yeah.
Well, would they still consider that tomorrow? Like, for example, I'm going tomorrow.
Right.
So would they also consider those tickets as well as like opening?
No. Opening weekend
it's
it
done.
would just
We're
be
done.
Thursday night,
Thursday.
Friday, Saturday, and
Okay.
Sunday.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
I don't know.
then they
Tuesday's a weekend.
So then they
either.
no, but what I'm thinking is that they've already counted that. So I don't think that they will, actually.
well
go up,
as the
wouldn't
movie as we get further. I mean, granted, this movie hasn't even been out a week.
Right.
Right. So as we progress through and get into like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month, whatever, that number will steadily increase. And again, like that movie is so long, it's gonna take at least 2 or 3 viewings to really
figure it out,
get everything, and soak up all the information that goes through that movie.
Right.
So, yeah.
How long do you guys
the
think
numbers?
it's gonna
The
be in
numbers don't
theaters?
lie. This movie, this is a big deal.
How long do you guys think that it's going to be in theaters for?
Oh, dude, are you kidding?
I think it's going to be like for a while.
It's going to be a while.
I don't think it's ever gonna get out of.
Yeah, it stays. It's like it's that one in The Room, always in the same.
When
thing.
I went to see it, I went to see it Friday,
crazy.
which the 26th, which was technically the first day it opened everywhere.
Yeah.
And I went at like noon, and almost every single theater in the AMC here in Tulsa was Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
Almost every single
I can see
one.
that.
Which is unheard of for movie theaters to almost exclusively.
You don't see like all John Wicks, coming out, or like all Shazams. That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Shazam.
And honestly, like I don't think we're realizing how big of a deal this is.
Right.
Like Avengers Endgame is already the 17th highest grossing film of all time, and it's only been out for 4 days.
Yeah.
4 days.
Crazy.
That's insane. And some of these movies that are above it took years to get there. Like the things that beat it, like Avatar was from 2009. That was a decade ago, and $2.7 billion. Of course, it had all that time to get there, but dude, after 4 days, 17. That's
good.
That's nothing to sniff at. That's pretty significant.
I would probably want to sniff at it.
I mean, you could probably sniff it if you want to.
Like I'd be like, "Yo, that's some good money right there." But
oh my god. Well, guys, I don't know about you, but I really want to dive into this because like you cannot give a proper review to this movie without spoiling stuff. That's
right? Yeah. So we're gonna talk about Shazam instead. No.
Yeah, Shazam. Yeah, sure, of course, yeah.
I want to know what the difference is, and we don't have to look this up right now, between that, because that one did really well too.
Shazam did do really well.
It got like a 96 or something on Metacritic or something like that. I could be wrong, but I'm wondering how bad it's going to hurt it now, because it had like a 2-month head start, I think, or a month, was it? I can't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it's been out for a few months. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to be, it's pretty slowing down for a while anyways.
Maybe, I don't know. But
and plus, since this Endgame's out, I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll rather see Endgame over Shazam.
Definitely.
But I do want to say, before we get into the spoiler section, I want to say, if you guys have not seen the movie, this is, like I said earlier in the podcast, this is literally a once-in-a-lifetime spectacle that you have to see in theaters.
Yes.
Like, this is a 10-year-long, franchise run.
Yeah.
That has captivated everyone everywhere.
Yeah.
There's nothing. Yeah,
honestly,
literally,
I don't
never
think
been anything like it.
The closest thing is like Star Wars.
I mean, you can compare franchises, and even obviously, I believe what actually it might not be arguable. One of the best, most well received and highest grossing franchises of all time is Star Wars.
Yeah,
and I got to be honest. The Marvel Universe is bigger than that.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since everybody's been on the same page about loving a specific franchise and a specific set of IP. And Star Wars did that first in 1977, and that still rings today.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that, especially for the people in our generation, we were here to witness that, because like I was saying earlier, I remember going to see Iron Man for the first time in theaters in 2008 when I was 12.
Yeah.
And here we are more than a decade later, and it's not even kind of lost traction. It's only getting better with every single movie.
Well, Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel was not great.
Yeah. But
we'll get into her later.
Right.
I have some things to say.
Yeah, I know. I
about
do too.
Goddamn Captain Marvel.
Brie Larson.
I think I know what you guys are talking about for sure.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel, and I think I could answer it too.
Yeah. But it's
like I said,
it's a big deal. So yeah.
It is. It's a huge deal. So do yourself a favor, go see this in theaters.
Don't see it in 3D.
Wait till it comes out the Blu-ray.
And you know what? A lot of
of
people just assume that guys from Movement Productions, I haven't seen all the Marvel movies. I think I'm just gonna go see Endgame. Here's the thing.
Fuck out of here, nigga.
What have you been doing for 10 years?
Do yourself a favor.
Okay?
Like if you really want to get the full scope, hold off on seeing Endgame if you haven't seen all the other movies, and just take some time and watch the movies. Or even if you don't want to spend all of the hours to watch all 22 other movies,
or you missed the time at AMC to see every single one. I was like, for 3 days.
Do yourself a favor and go and look up. I'm sure if you go to YouTube, there's like a synopsis of the
We'll find
entire
one.
Marvel universe before you go see Endgame. That will catch you up to speed with all the end credit scenes and like the storylines that are intersecting and interweaving. So do yourself a favor. This movie should not be missed. It's a huge deal.
Or if you want to just actually see some of them, see the Avengers, see Ultron.
Yeah.
Maybe a few of them around the same time, like AntMan the Wasp.
I don't know where it is, but someone made a list of the movies
how
in the
you
Marvel
should
universe
watch it.
that you have to see to really understand
We'll find
the
it.
final things. But yeah. But I
Yeah,
think with that being said, I think it's time for some spoilers.
Yes.
So so if you haven't guessed right now, this is the time to turn the podcast off if you're listening and you haven't seen the movie.
I'm begging you.
We are going to literally rip apart every piece of this movie, so just get ready.
Exactly. Okay, but I got a question to ask you guys. How many times did you guys cry?
I did not at all.
Okay. So
actually, there was one moment that almost got me, but I held it together. And again,
When was it?
I mean, we'll get there. I think we should.
he already wants to talk about it. He's like, when was it?
Right.
I want to know.
I think we talk about the movie in order. Again, the spoiler warning is in effect, so get ready. But I think we should go in order from what we remember of the movie, just going through the whole thing chronologically.
So I cried. But I didn't cry as
soon as the opening scene with Hawkeye came up, I cried. That was it. The Marvel logo credit logo thing rolled, and there was a lot of ominous music, and I cried.
One of the things that shut up. So were you there? No, okay. But
you didn't see nothing.
It was dark. Okay, we had the glasses on.
I had something in my eye. Okay.
It was
Ethan just imagined the whole movie. He doesn't even know how everything turned out.
There was an ostrich. I don't even know what happened. No, but there were okay, I will say towards the end, and then certain occasions when we're gonna be discussing.
Yeah.
I got teary-eyed.
Yeah.
Not because of the story in itself. There is one part where I was just like, oh, that's how I would feel if I was in that situation.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that kind of hit home with me. Yeah, because I told you about that one. And also seeing it with family members, and even seeing that, for example, I went with my dad, and he saw the last one with me. But the thing is, he's not a very comic-y, he doesn't like comics. He's he hates sci-fi. Even when we came out of the auditorium, he was like, I hate sci-fi, but that was really good. And so I'm just even having that type of emotional connection with it, I was like, that's what brought me joy as well. But yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I got misty-eyed a lot.
Yeah.
No tear went down, but
after watching a lot of the trailers, I think the thing I loved most about what Marvel did for all the promotional stuff for this movie was all of the trailers. I mean, except for some flashes of characters when they're in action towards the end of the movie, most of the trailers are made up of the first 15 to 20 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
Which is the slowest part of the movie.
Yeah.
I think the first
But it's slow in a good way.
No. Yeah. Well, it's good because and Ethan and I had this discussion right before we started the podcast, where we were talking about the first hour or so ish of the movie was really kind of a drag, but not in the bad way.
Yeah.
Because it's going to set up how different the world is, and you see how broken everybody is, and it's just so bland because the world is half empty. Right. So it
has to be.
Right. So it reflects all the craziness that happens later on in the movie.
It's not like BV Soups where it's oh, everything's drawn out because we had no Zack Snyder didn't have anything to put there. Right. It was that needed to be there.
Yeah. And I loved that. I loved that they did that because they didn't give anybody anything really to go on. All of the flashes of the characters that are in action are totally out of context, so you will never know what they're doing really. So I thought it was great. I loved that. I loved that part of the movie.
Okay, so I guess we're gonna get into like the actual what the film was about now.
Yeah.
Who wants to explain it? Because like I'm still like
explain what?
Trying to.
So
because
okay, so at the end of Infinity War, as we all know, Thanos assembles the Infinity Gauntlet and he does the fatal snap, thus eliminating half of all existence in the universe. So this movie picks up almost immediately where that movie left off. They kind of do a brief little recap of stuff, but a great way to remind everybody what happened in Infinity War was this: the film opens with Hawkeye, and Hawkeye, as we saw in was it Civil War? I think.
Yes. Yeah, Civil War.
That Hawkeye has a family. He's got a house on like a little like ranch style farm like place, very, very mundane, nothing fancy about it at all. He's got a wife, and I believe he's got 2 kids. And so he's teaching.
We met them back in Age of Ultron.
Yeah, Age of Ultron. Yeah.
That's what it was.
So the film opens, and Hawkeye is teaching his daughter how to shoot an arrow, and she's doing well. He's teaching her how to breathe. It's a very nice like father-daughter moment. And then she shoots the arrow. She gets a bullseye. And then he goes, "Oh man, great job! Hey, go grab your arrow. We'll set up again before we have to go eat lunch with mom and the kids." So
they're in the background,
right? And Hawkeye and his daughter are kind of far away from the wife and the other kid. Oh, fun fact, by the way, the wife is played by an actress named Linda Cardellini.
Yeah,
and Linda Cardellini is Velma from the live-action Scooby-Doo movies. Just throwing that out there.
And she's also
there's no reason why that fact is important.
She's a good actress. I like
great.
her.
Anyway,
I thought it was Jennifer Love Hewitt, but okay, I guess I was wrong.
No, it's
wait, you thought that was Jennifer Love Hewitt?
Yeah, I thought that.
No. She's what's her name from Freaks and Geeks?
Yep.
From Scooby-Doo, like the ones like in the early 2000s.
Yeah, the live action ones.
I thought that was.
She's also in Daddy's Home.
Wait, so
she
then
plays
who was Jennifer Love
wife.
Hewitt? Was Jennifer Love Hewitt Daphne?
No. Daphne was Sarah Michelle Gellar. Okay, we're talking about Avengers here.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, Hawkeye, Clint Barton sends his daughter to go get the arrow from the target, and then he goes, "Hey, sweetie," and then turns around, and then she's not there, and he's like, "Huh, that's weird." And then he looks back, and he's like, "Hey, babe," and then looks to where his wife and his other kid were, and they're not there either. And then, and I totally didn't think about it at first because it just took me out of it because I was focusing on the father-daughter moment. But after he turns around and sees that his wife is gone, I'm like, oh shit, that was the snap, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then it brings you back into the seriousness of the movie.
Yeah.
And so then he's like totally confused and like looking around for everybody, and then they just cut to black, and then we catch back up with the Avengers right after.
Well, they have the Marvel.
Yeah. Well,
thing.
no. They don't
opening.
have the credits until later on.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Because I totally forgot that I hadn't seen the credits yet.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think they cut to the part where it's Tony and Nebula, they're in space in the spaceship. He was like showing her like how to play paper football and whatnot.
Yeah.
It was like a little wholesome.
Wait. No. I think they cut to the Marvel, the actual thing. The Endgame, like, opening banner is later on. But the actual Marvel thing is before. Okay.
Yeah. So then we after the scene with Hawkeye, which is right at the time of the snap, then we start to catch up with the other Avengers. You see Tony Stark and Nebula, who are in space after the events that happened on Thanos' homeworld,
Titan.
And they're running out of food. He has that message to Pepper, which we see in one of the trailers, where he's like, hey, all of our food's gone. We got another couple days worth of water, and then or
no oxygen.
Yeah, 48
I think it was like
48
hours.
Yeah, 48 hours of oxygen left, and that part was quite depressing because we knew he was going to make it out of there, but it was just difficult because it's I don't know. You see him really struggling with his humanity and finally being out of control of what's going on, Yeah, and then Captain Marvel kind of finds them. I wish they would have explained that a little bit, but she just shows up and then she saves them.
Yeah.
So then she brings them to the Avengers compound where everybody's waiting, like Cap and Thor and Rocket and everybody, and Pepper as well.
Black Widow.
And Black Widow.
Yeah.
So then we get to see the first interaction between Tony and Cap since Civil War. And I don't think people realize how long of a time that is.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Did they have a phone call in Infinity War?
Somebody
he and
Mark
Ruffalo have a phone call. Well, maybe he does do a little bit of a phone call.
I feel like he does because I was watching Infinity War and he's like,
really
I'm going to
brief.
have to call Rogers.
Yeah, but in Infinity War, they don't see each other at all.
Right, because they have the phone. Yeah.
Right.
I thought the phone broke.
It might have. It might have.
I
can't remember.
I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know.
Different movie.
But so this is the first time they're face to face, and it was really kind of a rough scene, I think, to kind of sit through because they were very smart and I think they did that face matching thing where they put Robert Downey's head on a very scrawny, unhealthy body.
Yeah, because I was like, damn.
Because you could tell he was very skinny, he was very out of shape.
It was crazy.
And he looked very super dehydrated, and you could tell by the way that Robert Downey Jr. was portraying the character at the time, he was just obviously very visibly pissed. He just lost. He lost Spider-Man. He lost half of all of the people. Like it's insane. He doesn't know if Pepper's alive until he got back to the compound, and so it's crazy. And he kind of blows up at Cap. You know,
well, and everyone essentially.
Yeah, and you know he talks about how you know we're over there getting our asses kicked, and where were you? Like you weren't there.
Right.
You weren't there to help us fight him. You weren't there to do all this stuff. You know, and they talk about they touch briefly on the Sokovia Accords, about how you know Tony was just tired of having all this power unchecked because you know they have hurt people in their attempts to be heroes. Anyway, so
which
then,
I thought that was awesome too, because I was like, dang, even going back further for this movie, because
and they do a good job of giving you exposition that doesn't feel like exposition.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
They really did their homework. There's so many homages to like the past.
Right. And so then Tony kind of in the midst of blowing up at the rest of the Avengers. Kind of passes out because again he's been in space for who knows how long.
He also takes out his.
Oh yeah. Oh, that part was kind of a big deal.
But the thing that confused me is that in Infinity War, at the very beginning, whenever Pepper and them are, he's discussing a dream about having a baby.
Yeah, kids, right?
And I was like, he says at one point, he goes, or she goes, "You don't need that," because he was like, "I just have it there for you know."
Right. Well, I think that was more of like saying like she was saying you don't need the suits anymore. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
Like,
so it wasn't necessarily the actual
It
thing.
wasn't a part of him like the original arc reactor was.
Yeah.
But in the midst of yelling at Cap,
because that kind of confused me a little bit.
Yeah. In the midst of yelling at Cap, he takes off the little the nanotech thing that you saw from Avengers Infinity War. He rips that off of his chest and puts it in the hand of Captain America, and he was like, "If you guys want to do it, you go right ahead. But I'm done. I'm fucking done with this."
Yeah.
And then
passes.
He kind of like falls over, and everyone's like, you know, "Hey, Tony."
Was that honestly that part made me laugh because he looked kind of ridiculous, like because they put his CGI head over like a really.
Although I will say that was some of their better CGI work. I gotta say they did. I mean, you could tell, like, obviously, we know that's not his body.
I mean, think about, like, Rogue One, whenever they had,
yeah, that was...
What's his name? That was awful.
But yeah, so then they put Tony up with IV, so he gets a little bit better. And yeah.
That came out of nowhere.
And then an explosion.
But yeah, but then after we meet up with everybody, it really starts to kick off. They figure out, they track the power levels of the Infinity Gauntlet and find out where Thanos is. And then finally they have the scene from the trailer, or the leak, not leaked, but they showed a scene.
Right.
And it's Captain America being like, "Let's get this son of a bitch."
Yeah.
So then they go to whatever that planet is. They don't mention it.
I thought it was Titan 2.
No. It was some
other.
other.
No, it's not.
Okay.
But they get there, and then they're trying to figure out where the stones are so they can fix everything. And Thanos used the stones one last time because it almost killed him in Infinity War. he used it one last time to destroy the stones. So now the stones don't exist in that in the world anymore. So then, just out of rage, Thor just decides,
my God!
Finally,
that was like the most what the fuck scene.
Yeah,
ever.
nobody knew that. Yeah. I didn't know that was coming. I didn't see that coming at all. Yeah. But Thor takes his big old Stormbreaker axe and just cuts off Thanos' head.
Takes his advice.
Like he's like the last time. And then he said, my favorite line is like, "I went for the head. That's what I did. I went for the head this time." I was like, "Yes."
Yeah. So then, kind of like everyone expected, we get a time jump.
Yep.
So now it's 5 years into the future. The Avengers are kind of scattered all over the place. We catch up with Captain Marvel. She's up in space looking like an idiot with a stupid-ass haircut.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rhodey.
Rhodey's
War
in
Machine
Mexico.
is off doing something, and Black Widow is kind of left in the compound in shambles and stuff.
Yeah.
Wait, but no. At the same part, we get the excuse why Captain Marvel isn't in the movie at all.
Yeah, because she's out fighting with other things that have the same.
I gotta go check other planets.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, it's like
okay, well, cool, but
it's like a firefighter going to a fire, being like, "There's this other one down the street."
Yeah.
Like,
well, that was the most confusing part of this movie was because everyone, like Kevin Feige was like, "She's gonna be the biggest part of the Marvel universe so far. Yeah. She's the most powerful. She's gonna be super important in bringing down Thanos." And she didn't do shit the entire movie.
Okay. Can we please get through this summary because I really want to discuss that part.
Okay.
I just really want to discuss that.
Everybody splits up.
I'll speed it along here. So
yes, please.
Sorry,
there's so
much to unpack.
I'll help you out.
We get a good scene with Hawkeye. He's become this kind of vigilante. He's killing a whole bunch of people now in Japan.
Which I thought that was kind of stupid, but keep going.
Yeah, is his name Ronan now?
They don't mention it, but that's assumed what he is.
Okay.
Captain America is kind of helping people through their struggles with dealing with the aftermath of the snap. Black Widow is clearly just kind of disheveled. She's kind of lost, trying to figure out what to do. And then finally they get the video from their front door, and it's AntMan. AntMan comes back out of his the quantum realm.
Yeah.
And he's super confused. Right, because I mean he's 5 years in the future and everybody's gone. He has no idea what's going on. So he goes back to the Avengers. They were wondering, is that like from a pre-recorded thing or is he really there? So
because he does that before.
Right.
Another movie.
So then they bring him inside and he explains where he was and how the quantum realm, he was in there for 5 hours, but 5 years had passed, and it's like a totally different. The time works totally different there.
Yeah.
So then that got Ant-Man to thinking, what if we can somehow use the quantum realm and aim it to jump through time and exit at certain points of whatever we choose. So then naturally, he and Captain America and Black Widow immediately go find Tony Stark. And this is the part that changes everything in the movie, I think. For how we view Tony Stark.
Right.
Yeah.
When we catch up with Tony Stark, he's got a family. He's got a kid, Morgan Stark, which is very comic accurate. And him and Pepper have this nice little cute little cabin cottage type thing, and he's like just living a great life. He's not Iron Man anymore. He's just hanging out.
He's finally happy.
Right. So then they bring this proposition to him about time travel, and he says, "We're not going to do it. It's too risky. I don't even know where to start. Whatever." And naturally, being Tony Stark, he is interested anyway and figures it out. And once he figures it out, Pepper says, "Do what you got to do." He goes back to the Avengers, and they figure it out. In the meantime, while he is figuring out this, they catch up with the Hulk, who has. I wish they would have explained it more, but. The Hulk has Bruce Banner has been able to fuse the minds of himself and the body of the Hulk. So now he's in control, and he becomes what's known as Professor Hulk.
Which I understand the whole Professor Hulk thing, but I was really like that would have been a good opportunity to like do like a Gray Hulk type of deal. Like, maybe not make it exactly like Grey Hulk in the comics, but like...
Well, I just wish...
I thought that would have been a nice touch, but I mean, Professor Hulk's cool, too.
Yeah, I mean, I love that they put Professor Hulk in there. They just should have explained it more. They brush over it really quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
So then, because they think Tony's not going to help, they try to do it, and it doesn't really work. They have a comedic moment about time travel and how it messes with Ant-Man. Then Tony Stark shows up. They start building everything that they need. And then we go and catch up with Thor. Thor has moved all of the Asgards to new Asgards, and I gotta stop right here and say that what they did with Thor was the most aggravating part of this entire movie.
Me too, dude.
I hated it.
I will say I liked it the first while he's in Asgard. I loved it. Once he got out of it, and you brought this up, and I'm just gonna spoil it now since we're in spoiling area, is that whenever he gets one of his hammers back or both of them, that he should have lost the weight.
Yeah,
he should have been.
I know. I was telling my girlfriend that.
I know it's so stupid. When we catch up with Thor, because again, Thanos already killed like half of the Asgardians even before the snap, and his brother and stuff. So after he cuts off Thanos' head, he kind of goes into exile a little bit. He gets incredibly overweight. He's got his long hair back. He's got a big old beard. He just looks awful. He looks like shit. Yeah. And he's hanging out in the new Asgard with Valkyrie and trying to keep all the Asgardians together.
And my man Korg, he's alive.
They're
I was so happy.
The Fortnite thing was really, really fucking stupid. I hated that. But anyway, so
I actually laughed at that. I'm not gonna lie. I actually really laughed. Even though it was really shoehorned in, but it's funny.
Yeah. So when Professor Hulk and Rocket get Thor to come back to the Avengers compound, and then we see there's a great little montage of them building all of the equipment they need to do the time travel. And then they finally have how they're going to do it, but now they got to figure out chronologically
who's going to do it,
how, when they can go get all the stones. So the plan is to go back in time and assemble the gauntlet before Thanos can, and then change what happened.
Kind of like a Back to the Future. So just think of Back to the Future.
Well, that's
I know, and
that's
they make
the whole
joke.
joke.
They make the joke that it's not like it, but in the sense of it, it kind of is.
Yeah. It's very reminiscent. Maybe you get a lot of the same nostalgic vibes. I think,
but also the rules that are set in Back to the Future aren't relevant in this theory. But Back to the Future is the same thing. He's going back into the future to fix what he did in the.
Well, he's going to another reality.
Right.
They're going to different realities. Right. Not
exactly.
And they won't. Nothing they do in the past will change what. Happened.
Yeah. So then there's another mini montage of them figuring out when are the best time periods, and then finally all the Avengers gather in one room and they get their assignments. Everyone splits into little groups of either 2 or 3, depending on who's who, and they each get a time period. So. Hawkeye and Black Widow go to get the Soul Stone on Vormir. Yeah. Cap and Iron Man and Ant-Man go back to 2012 to the original Avengers movie to get the Tesseract, as well as, I think, was it the Time Stone?
Yes, because Hulk goes and gets Time Stone.
They figure out that at one point in time there are 3 Infinity Stones in New York: the Tesseract, the Soul Stone, and I think it was the Mind Stone? Yeah, because Loki's scepter. Yeah, the Mind Stone.
Yeah.
So they do that. They figure that out, and then everyone else has their missions as well. With the Power Stone, they go back to Guardians of the Galaxy, and that's Nebula and War Machine, and I think that's most of the other groups as well. Yep. So anyway, you see everyone kind of working with that, and you get a lot of comedic moments with them meeting their past selves. Like there's a great scene where Captain America fights himself.
Yeah.
He's like, I can keep doing this all day.
And he's like, I know. Which is so funny. I love that they threw that under the bus.
Hilarious.
And there's also a really funny moment that I really enjoyed was,
Was it the butt scene?
Ant-Man is on Tony Stark's shoulder, and and Cap is calling Iron Man, and he goes, Tony, have you located the Tesseract? And he's like, yeah. And then and Iron Man, just being witty, says something about Captain America's outfit. He's like, this outfit is not doing anything special for your ass, buddy. You need to get that together. and then because Ant-Man can hear them on this comlink thing anyway, Ant-Man goes, you know what, Cap? Don't listen to him. I think it's a great ass. I would say that's America's ass.
That's America's ass.
Yeah, and it was really, really funny because there's that joke about how Ant-Man is always trying to impress Captain America. Yeah. So that was really funny. The Hulk has an interaction with the Sorcerer Supreme, which isn't Doctor Strange. It's the one before him, who's played by Tilda Swinton. I don't know her name. The ancient one. Yeah, the ancient one. And so he gets the Time Stone from her. They get the Tesseract as well as Loki's scepter, the Mind Stone, and then we see War Machine and Nebula get the Power Stone.
Wait, they don't get the Tesseract though.
Yeah, no. Oh well. Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
Loki.
Loki takes the Tesseract.
So apparently
and leaves.
Loki's alive now, which I hated.
No,
I don't think that's necessarily him being alive because
that's how they're gonna make the show in
Right,
Disney.
right,
So
right. So I think he's done in the movies, but I don't know.
I think Hawkeye's getting his own show too.
yeah. So the people that are going to be,
Falcon and Winter
Falcon,
Soldier.
yeah, Winter Soldier, and then
Wanda,
Loki. That's all I know.
Scarlet Witch.
No.
Oh, she deserves it.
Yeah. Anyway, so, let's see. We catch up with Black Widow and Hawkeye. They're on Vormir. And obviously, the audience knows that Thanos had to sacrifice Gamora and kill Gamora in order to get the Soul Stone. Right. But the Avengers don't know how he got that. They weren't there. So they don't realize that they can't just get the stone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they meet Red Skull again, and they start to piece it together that it's a soul for a soul. If you want to get the Soul Stone, you have to give up something that you love. And as we know, Clint and Natasha have had a long history of being friends. Mm-hmm. They're very, very close.
They're like buddy cops, essentially.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they care about each other a lot, and they've been through a lot together as the only like really normal people in the Avengers group.
Yeah.
And so then in a strange act of both trying to do a self-sacrifice,
they throw Red Skull.
I know they're in a rush to kill themselves.
They're kind of,
like,
I mean, they want to save each other, and then it starts off as being kind of funny where they're fighting, and then slowly transitions in an amazing way to being very, very deep and heartfelt.
Yeah.
They're both hanging off of the cliff at the end of their fight, and Clint is holding Black Widow, and she's like, you gotta let me go. We gotta get this done. Like, it's okay. And of course, keep in mind, if you die by the Soul Stone, you don't come back. Yeah. You're not unsnapped. You know, that's just it. You're done. And then Black Widow falls to her death, and that's it. That's it for Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Which that was a deep one. I didn't see her death coming.
Yeah. To me, honestly, okay, I didn't see it coming either. But like to be honest, I felt more hurt when that happened to Gamora than to Black Widow.
Well, because we've already seen it before. So
and it's also it's like, if you look at it, it's like a family rather than a best friend.
Right.
And I feel like, and I'm not saying like if I lost my best friend or my family, I would be like, both of them are awful.
Yeah.
But I feel like that one hits more home.
I think the thing that struck me the most is that, again, it started off being kind of a funny moment, and then you see Clint really get kind of emotional and beat up about how he just lost one of his best friends. Yeah. Then we swoosh back over to the Power Stone, which we find at the beginning of the Guardians of the Galaxy
This
movie.
is the part that aggravated me the most.
Yeah. So in the only paradoxical moment of the entire time travel thing, nothing else really happens to affect time,
right?
Except for this one thing, which, again, they should have explained it, but so Nebula from the present is with War Machine from the present. They go back in time to Guardians 1 to get the Power Stone, which is what Peter Quill collects at the very beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. So they do it successfully, no problem. And then it was stated before they start time traveling that each member, you get one jump to where you need to go and one jump back home, and that's all you get. You get the two, there and back. So if you mess up, you mess up. Yeah. So they get the Power Stone, no problem, and War Machine takes the Power Stone and he jumps back, so he's back home. Oh. Nebula tries to jump and she is unable to because she's having some issues with her head. Yeah. And so it seems as though past Nebula and present Nebula
are connected.
Their memories, because she's basically a cyborg, are fusing into each other. So the past can see what the future is doing, and the future can see what the past is realizing about what it's kind of confusing, and they don't explain it at all. But yeah. So then she starts to realize that, oh shit, I think Thanos knows that we're collecting the stones before he can.
Yeah.
Which also the other thing that kind of like caught my like attention with that is that took me out of the moment. I was like, if she can see past and future and whatever what's like current, why wouldn't she have said at the beginning, hey, obviously I know why, because story development that needs to be there, but being dumb and being like on it, I wanted to be like, why even send yourself if you know that's gonna happen?
Especially because that's the only thing that's like time lapsing on itself.
Yeah.
And actually pretty much the whole movie.
Yes.
So now they've assembled all of the stones.
Wait. Okay, before you get on to that,
they go
remember
back.
the very important part, the Tesseract. Loki took that. So, with Cap and
Oh
Tony,
my
what
gosh,
they thought,
I almost skipped over the entire...
the most important scene ever.
Yeah.
So they went back to the 70s.
Yeah.
To this military compound where the Tesseract was being worked on. Was it for the super soldier formula?
Yeah, so it was the original SHIELD compound back when this would have been well after Captain America was in the ice. So this is, I think you're right. I think that's exactly 1970. So Iron Man and Cap, because Loki took the Tesseract, they have to use their other time jump to go to 1970 to the compound where Hank Pym is. They can get more Pym particles so they can travel back in time.
He looks so bad with that, like trying to look how he looks younger or whatever.
Yeah.
I was just like, come on, dude.
And then also to get the Tesseract. So, and they kind of do that with little to no problem as well. Yeah. There's a great scene with Helen from Drake and Josh in the elevator.
Yes, I know. I was thinking
as soon as she came up, I was like, that is not my job.
I know.
That Cole Brown is amazing.
But the main purpose of them going to 1970 was Cap finally gets to see what Peggy was up to while he was in the ice. And they don't talk or interact, but he sees her through a window.
Actually,
office.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's a really beautiful moment where he's just like, "Oh man, that's my girl right there."
Yeah.
You know. And then while he is off with that, Tony collects the Tesseract and then runs into his father, his young father.
This is where my crying begins.
Right. And so what we as they start to interact, Tony makes up he's from MIT or whatever. He's visiting, and he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, let's, his father's like, "Well, let's go get some fresh air. You seem a little nervous." They start talking and stuff, and it turns out that what we know about Iron Man's dad from the past Iron Man movies is that he was kind of cold and too focused on work and wasn't really there. Right. And they address that. His father even says, "I know I'm like that, and I wish I wasn't, but I feel like the work I'm doing is so important that it's just sometimes I feel bad because I don't spend enough time with my wife." And so as the conversation goes on, we realize that they're on the day that Iron Man was born. They came back to the day he was born on accident. And his dad was on his way to go see the birth of his son, which was standing in front of him. So they get this great moment where Tony is like, "I just want you to know, thanks for everything." And his dad is like, "Okay, what?" Because he doesn't understand. But he's like, I understand now why you are the way you are, and I love you and what you do for the country. Yeah. Great job,
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful, beautiful and well done scene. And then
one of my favorite scenes, actually.
Yeah, it was really, really well done. And
even talking about it right now, I want to cry because it was just so good. Like,
gonna cry?
Shut up. It's touching. Okay.
Nobody wasn't really expecting that kind of a touching moment right there. I don't think. And so so then they get the Tesseract, and then they get the Pym particles, and they jump back to present day. So all the Avengers come back. They have the moment where they realize that Black Widow is dead. They have a little meeting about that. Hulk is obviously beaten up, and so is Hawkeye. And then they start assembling a new gauntlet. Iron Man and Bruce Banner kind of make a makeshift Infinity Gauntlet, and they finally put the stones all together, all 6, in the gauntlet. And so then they try to decide who's going to wear it, because as we've seen, even using it and wearing the gauntlet takes an immense amount of strength, and it can really end up killing you.
Yeah.
And it can damage you like it did to Thanos. So then, obviously, the first person to sacrifice themselves is Thor, because Thor thought he let down all of his people, and Bruce Banner interjects and says, even with all your power, it would kill you, And he said,
I'm just saying, my boy Thor took a dying heart. I mean,
I know,
starts with a heart.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
on.
I feel like that was just an excuse to get
maybe it would burn
Hulk.
his calories.
Right.
No.
Maybe that would have got him back into shape. I don't know.
Right.
But it does make sense.
Okay,
to
this is
do it
gonna
with
be
Thor,
off topic a little bit, but I kind of liked short-haired Thor.
Yeah,
even though that's not.
I think
really,
everyone did.
Yeah. I didn't like that Thor was just like this fat, kind of bitchy.
Yeah.
Dude, he's a literal god.
He reminds
you reduce him to this kind of PTSD, anxiety.
But in the sense of the story, that kind of needs to happen.
That checks out, but then they use it for comedic purposes for a little bit, like when he goes to Asgard.
It was the longest joke that didn't last. It was the longest. I can't even talk.
Well, I can see why they would do that because this movie
really
is so drama heavy that they do need that character, and I guess I assume that's what they used, which they could have used AntMan for that.
Yeah,
because that's how his character is.
He was my favorite character throughout the whole movie, though.
I know, he's great.
He was great. I was really surprised. Well, I wasn't surprised, but I was really glad that Ant-Man had a huge part in this movie.
Yes.
Oh, me too.
Huge.
And a small part.
Also, regarding Ant-Man, whenever we go back to 1970 and you see Hank Pym's work desk, you see a big metal helmet that looks ridiculous. And it looks ridiculous like that because it's a shout out to how the original Ant-Man helmet looked.
I didn't see that.
From the comics. And
that's awesome, though.
That was it goes by super quick. It's in the camera's panning, so it just...
I had 3D.
Yeah. So, and I thought that was really cool to incorporate stuff from the original comics that only the people who have read them will probably understand. Anyway, so who was it? Hulk explains... Professor Hulk explains that with the gamma radiation, the way that his genetic makeup is and his healing factor works, he would be able to withstand all the power. So we see him put it on, and you can see it start to wither away his body and kind of burn his skin. Yeah. Almost.
And under it too, which was weird.
And they they're like, okay, maybe we should take it off. And he's like, no, I got it. Mm-hmm. And so then he snaps.
As that's happening, Thanos is like, we have to get there. So Nebula the bad Nebula has switched with the good Nebula, and she is now at the actual thing at the Avengers Tower.
Man, I forgot a big chunk of stuff. I'm sorry.
So no, you're good. So what happens then is that she opens the portal, and as Thanos is coming, he snaps, or Hulk does. Ant-Man looks outside. He's like, wow, all of this is we're back to normal.
Yes.
Not necessarily. Thanos comes in with his ship, blows up the area. I thought
everyone died.
I thought Ant-Man was going to die, but his suit gets in there real quick. Yeah. Then they start the battle.
Yeah. Oh, also.
Okay.
Really quick before we go on, another kind of big part that goes by quick, but it is important. Yes. Thor and Rocket go to Asgard.
Oh, yes.
And while they're there, Thor talks to his
wacky adventure.
And his mother quickly... His mother quickly realizes that he's from the future, and they talk a little bit, and she encourages him and stuff like that. And before they leave to go back to the present, because they were getting the ether. Was it the power or the reality stone? Excuse me. From
Natalie Portman,
right?
Which was cool.
From the Thor: The Dark World time.
Yes,
I forgot all about that movie.
Yeah,
honestly.
Yeah. Everyone.
I never saw it.
Yeah, it's not great.
I heard,
but it is important because it's all about the Infinity Stone. So
right.
So then Thor has been without any kind of weapon. There's no Stormbreaker, no nothing, for the whole movie because he's kind of given up on being Thor. And so when he goes back to Thor: The Dark World, they get the ether, and then right before they leave, Thor does the whole hand summon thing, and we assume that Stormbreaker, but no, because he's back in time before Mjolnir got smashed by Hela in Ragnarok.
Right.
The original hammer comes back, and he's like, still works, I'm still worthy.
Right.
Yeah.
But then it screws Thor in that reality. Think about that.
Yeah, but remember,
I thought
it's
about
a
that.
time jump. So
Oh
nothing,
yeah, I forgot. Okay, never mind.
So nothing.
I'm still doing the Back to the Future stuff in my head. My bad.
Exactly. Okay, guys. So now we're getting to we're getting to the biggest part of the film.
And the movie
final
ends.
battle.
There we go.
Yeah.
It was the final fucking battle. Okay.
Right.
And I'm gonna take over from here real quick. Okay, so the torpedoes came, blew up the whole compound. Everyone's getting like kind of stuck. Hawkeye's underground, like trying to, because Thanos came to Earth. And he's all just like, okay, I'm gonna stop you guys from blah 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 blah. And then so Hawkeye's underground fighting off these little alien things, which I thought that was a really freaking cool scene. It reminded me of Alien. I was thinking of Ethan at that point because it reminded me of like the scene from Alien. But
I get you.
so everyone's like, they're crushed. They're like being stuck under debris and all that. So everyone's trying to get out. So Cap, Thor, and Iron Man, they're out. We see Thanos. He's just waiting for them. So they go up, start fighting him. Thanos beats all their asses. And then my favorite scene in the whole freaking movie. Thor's going up against Thanos. Thanos whooped his ass. He's about to freaking jam Stormbreaker into his chest, and then
wait, hold on, real quick.
Nah, wait, nigga, wait.
No, wait, hold on. So,
He's been waiting to talk about
no,
this
I know.
all day.
I know.
I mean,
Come
we
on,
all
you're
have.
talking about my
But
favorite scene.
Okay, hold on. Anthony, oh my God,
it
please,
cuts
guys. No, okay. So
please take it away from
so
him. Please say it.
Since Thanos does not have the Infinity Gauntlet, Captain America, Iron Man, and Thor, just the three of them, decide that now's the time to take on Thanos, since he's powerless.
He has his big double-bladed
cool,
sword.
Like, double blade thing. But
he's like Darth Maul. He's Darth Maul at this point.
Thor summons his hammers, and I figured that he would not be fat anymore, like an idiot.
Like the lightning would destroy all the fat.
He just got his beard braided.
Yeah.
But
he
did.
It looks super, super dope because
weird.
he summons both hammers. So now he's got Mjolnir in one hand and Stormbreaker in the other.
Yes.
And then they go to confront Thanos. And he becomes kind of like Thor, old man Thor in the comics, where he's got the braided beard and
Maybe that's what they were going at.
Well, maybe, but it still looks like fucking trash.
I know.
So anyway, then they go and confront Thanos, and then what happens, Anthony?
Okay, they all get their
They
asses
talk.
beat. Yeah, yeah, they talk. Okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, they talk. They get their asses beat.
Big
Thor
time.
is literally about to get killed. Okay, Thanos has Stormbreaker to Thor's chest. He's been out of shape. He's not like in his, he's
Didn't
he's
take
out
insanity.
of it.
He didn't do it.
Yeah, and Thor's about to die. He's about to plunge into his chest and kill him. But then we see fucking the hammer float up, and oh my god, and we see it like fucking smack Thanos in the side of the head. And we think it's Thor getting the hammer, but oh no, it's my fucking boy not Iron Man, Captain America.
You messed it up. You messed it up. It was my boy Spider-Man.
My boy
delivery. You had such a great delivery.
It was my boy Bobby.
It was my boy Black Panther.
Boy. And then he freaking
gosh,
and then he like
He's
grabs
so
it, looks up, and then oh my god, that's when he starts whooping Thanos' ass for a minute, and it was so sweet.
Dude, he was doing some crazy shit too. So like he throws it, and there's a great scene where the camera is just trained on the hammer, and it tracks the hammer as it flies back to whoever threw it, and then it flies into the hand of Cap, and everyone was like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you guys noticed, but while he was fighting Thanos he's got his shield on one arm and the hammer in the other, and he's kicking Thanos' ass, and you see some of the moves that they did in the original Avengers movie, where he like throws his shield up, throws the hammer at the shield, and does a little shockwave thing from the first time they all meet, and it like knocks Thanos back. He gets both the hammer and the shield, and then hits the hammer on the shield again, and it knocks Thanos' back. It's such a badass scene.
That was my favorite scene in the whole freaking movie. Like, honestly, I love that scene. It was just so because that is when the crowd was really like, oh fuck,
suck it, Thanos!
I know. It was so dope because he just ran towards Thanos. He's like fucking swung that fucking hammer,
and he was summoning lightning and shit too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And then oh my god! But yeah, that was my favorite scene. I just want to talk about that. And then Cap does get overpowered though.
Yeah. So I mean,
and
Thor is still down. Iron Man is still down for the count. Then Cap gets his ass beat. Even like I think Thanos knocks the hammer away from him and then kicks his ass some more.
Yeah.
And then we get another scene that's set up much like I could do this all day kind of thing. Thanos' army comes out of nowhere, and there's like thousands and thousands of them. All the Chitauri are there. All the old ships from the original Avengers movies are there. And it's Thanos standing with his guys, and then Cap all alone.
This is my favorite part.
And then everybody knew it.
Yeah, I know, but it's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
And remember, earlier, before all this battle stuff happened, Hulk snapped the Infinity Gauntlet in an attempt to get everybody back.
Yeah.
But at the end of Infinity War, everyone's scattered all over the universe. So right as Thanos is about to attack Captain America, we see the camera kind of like pans over Captain America's shoulder, and we see the little Doctor Strange ring teleportation portal thing.
Yeah.
And so then we see there's this big blinding light, and then who's walking out but my man T'Challa.
I know he's the first one to come out.
What a badass dude.
Cool.
He just comes like just strolling out of Wakanda like a badass, and then Falcon and Shuri are there. Oh, dude.
Well, Falcon does
I forgot all about
glide
Falcon
between everything, showing everyone.
So then we realized, we were like, oh, this is it. Everyone's coming out. But it's not just that one portal.
Yeah.
All of the other,
there are at least like 15.
all of the other sorcerers underneath Doctor Strange have gone to collect the rest of the heroes across the universe.
Yeah.
And so then all of these little portal rings start appearing, and then like Spider-Man and the Guardians come back out, and Peter Quill flies out, and it's so badass. Everybody gets all together in one space.
Yeah.
Iron Man gets his suit back. Thor gets up. You know, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And then even fucking Pepper Potts comes out in her Iron Man suit.
Dude. That was crazy.
Yeah, and dude.
Dope. I would have laughed if the freaking kid was in the Iron Man suit too.
Yeah,
because she had the little one.
Yeah. And it was so amazing. And then finally, I don't think he says it in any of the other movies, but we finally get the long-awaited Avengers Assemble.
Yeah. Everyone was there.
And dude, and let me tell you, there were like a couple hundred sorcerers. There were all the heroes that we've come to know and love. There was the army of Wakandas, because we get the Ibambe and all that stuff.
All the Asgardians.
Yeah, we get all the
Valkyries
Asgardians come back. We get Valkyrie in her original armor, and the kick-ass Pegasus.
Yeah.
Dude, it's so amazing.
Okay. And let's hurry and wrap this summary up for that one. I gotta like get going. But like also, they're fighting, and then Captain Marvel comes in to save the day.
Yeah. Well, everyone was kind of getting their asses beat, and then I think it was Thanos' ship is like blasting the fuck out of all the Avengers, and they're getting their asses whooped.
Yeah.
And then Captain America just like flies down from space and just flies right through the ship, and it blows up.
Yeah.
And
so my gripe. So they're saying
apparently
Captain
her
Marvel
patrolling worked.
Okay, they're saying Captain Marvel is the fucking strongest fucking MCU hero.
Yeah, she went through the ship.
Tell me why Scarlet Witch was putting the work on goddamn Thanos, and he couldn't even do anything.
Because she was mad, dude.
She
took Vision. He took Vision.
I'm still upset because technically speaking, Thor is way stronger than Captain Marvel and than Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, because he took a freaking dying star to the heart. Like, come on.
Yeah, and just
lived.
Me being like the comic book accurate person that I try to be, like that's just how it works. He's a god.
Right.
He's a literal god.
Exactly.
And I've said that to people before, and they're like, "Oh, well, you just don't like that a woman is stronger than Thor."
Right.
And I was like, "No, I hate that kind of power is wasted on a very shittily done character."
Right.
Exactly.
I got to be honest.
She's been rebooted like 5 times in the past like few years. Like,
dude, Captain
ridiculous.
Marvel is just not great. First of all, they stole the name Captain Marvel from DC, so I'm already not happy with them about that. But on top of that, she's just her attitude is bad. She's very snarky and not in like the.
She makes crappy jokes,
right? And not
like
even
when she sees Spider-Man,
she's
and
not
she
like
does that
witty
one joke.
in like the
Hi,
Iron
Peter
Man
Parker,
way.
you got something for me?
Yeah. We all know you have something for him. Okay, just take it. Just go do your job that you haven't been doing for the past like 5 movies.
And her delivery is just bad.
I agree.
You know, and she's not like witty and like sassy in the Iron Man kind of way, or like the Rhodey War Machine kind of way. It's just it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And on top of that, she just has awful delivery and that stupid ass haircut. I'm so tired of that.
I don't have that big of a deal with the haircut. I actually like it.
I did
She looks
too.
better with not the longer hair.
No, she looks way better
think
with
so,
the shorter.
Also, I don't like that she's basically playing Brie Larson. If you've ever seen Brie Larson in any other thing, like every time.
Oh well, to be fair, Robert Downey Jr. is playing Robert Downey Jr.
I know, but everybody likes Robert
he has
Downey Jr.
He has a good
People like
personality.
him.
Yeah.
I don't. The only time that I ever have liked Brie Larson was in Scott Pilgrim because she plays an annoying singer.
Yeah.
Because it works.
Yeah.
It doesn't work with with somebody that you're supposed to be loving.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah. But I will say, okay, so the scene when she had to like bring the Infinity Gauntlet to. I don't know what she was doing actually with it.
She starts to get her ass kicked by Thanos, and then she kicks.
Yeah,
Thanos
she got her
in the
ass kicked by Thanos, which I thought was funny because I'm like, okay, well that proves to me that Scarlet Witch is still stronger in my opinion. But anyways, but no, they had that cool fucking scene with all the girls. They're like, okay, we got your back.
That was
that was so
dope.
badass.
That was badass.
That was so dope.
Yeah, my girlfriend was going crazy. Like that was an awesome scene, man.
And then so Captain Marvel gets they find Ant-Man's van, and I think the Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos gets it, and they what did they use Ant-Man's van for? I can't remember.
So Wasp is in there with Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, right?
And they had something specific in there. I can't remember what. Oh, no. Oh, now I remember. Okay, so they were going to turn on the van because she was going to use that to teleport somewhere or something, I think, right? Or was she coming out of the van?
Oh, no, that's right. Okay, so
Either she was going into the van or
so
outside
they give
of the van.
gauntlet to Captain Marvel, and they were going to use Ant-Man's van with all of the quantum realm stuff in the back of it to send Captain Marvel to go back in time to get the stones away from Thanos.
That's what it was.
So she can go put the stones back to where they found them originally.
So that they could just defeat Thanos and then have everything back.
But that obviously does not work. You get a cool kind of like football-like scene where
very much so.
The gauntlet gets passed with the Infinity Stones to different Avengers. There's a cool thing with Spider-Man. It's really cool. Yeah. We see Spider-Man and Tony finally meet. And Spider-Man's like, Tony was crazy. We were turning to dust, and then all of a sudden we all woke up, and then here we are, and then Tony just gives him a hug, and it's a really nice father-son moment. Anyway, so then Thanos obviously gets the gauntlet. He fights Iron Man for a while. And after they kind of battle over the gauntlet, Tony makes a last-ditch effort to try to rip the gauntlet off of his hand. Obviously does not work. And then Thanos puts the gauntlet on. Thanos puts the gauntlet on, and then attempts to make another snap, and it obviously does not work.
I think Captain Marvel comes in and rips it off of him. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, they're like fighting over it, and then Captain Marvel and like a few other people start fighting over it, and then after that, don't the storms doesn't the gauntlet like no yeah, the gauntlet shatters or something, and then we look and we see like the Infinity Stones are no, that wasn't it.
It doesn't shatter.
No. So
all the gems.
He tries to use the gauntlet, but he knows nothing's happening.
Right.
And then he sees he looks across and he sees Tony has all the fucking stones on his armor. On his gauntlet.
And the most badass thing about that whole thing is Thanos snaps. It doesn't work. Everyone in the audience is holding their breath. Camera pans over. Iron Man's got all the stones. And right before Thanos tries to do the snap, he's like, "You can't stop this, Stark. I'm inevitable."
Yeah.
And then when we see Tony with the stones, he goes, "Yeah, well, I'm Iron Man." And then he snaps, and then all of Thanos' guys get turned to dust, and then we see Thanos turn to dust as well.
So Thanos dies twice in the movie.
I really wanted that to be more impactful. It even though there was like more of like a somber death.
Yeah,
I understood it.
The impact is coming.
Yes,
because
I guess so. Yeah,
because as everyone has kind of theorized, we always thought that one of the big main Avengers was not going to make it to the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. So as we've seen, the Infinity Gauntlet takes a lot of power to wield and wield safely. No one's done it successfully. And when Tony snaps, it just is the last thing his body can take. So we see all the guys disappear, and then Tony, like half of his whole body is burned. He's clearly done, and it becomes very clear that he is dying.
I I want to ask a question before we move on from that. Is that how did your people react to when that
black
came
people?
Up? No,
black people react to that, huh?
Oh my God, no! How?
Wakanda.
No, but like, how did the people in the room like react to it? Because I had somebody go, "Oh!" like so loud, and it was like, I was like, "You just kind of ruined it," but I'm also just like,
Well, it was funny because everyone knew it was coming.
Right.
Everyone knew it was either going to be Cap or Iron Man. Everyone knew. And as soon as we saw the stones, it kind of clicked that, okay, this is probably going to be it.
Yeah.
And then, but right before he snapped, someone went, "No, don't!" And then he snapped. And then, because everyone kind of knew. Yeah. But he snaps. He looks like fucking awful. His body's basically almost ripped in half, it looks like. And then it comes apparent that he is, clearly dying. And he is joined very quickly by Rhodey, who kind of helps him get comfortable. He's like, "Hey, Tony, just rest easy, man. We're going to get you some help." Then Peter Parker comes over and he's like, "Mr. Stark, we're going to be okay. We're going to get you some help." And then Tony, it doesn't say a word through this whole scene. Not one.
Are you sure?
I don't think so.
I felt like he said something to Spider-Man and then Pepper.
Well, he says something to Pepper for sure. I think he says that he loves her.
Yeah. He says something, but I don't know.
Yeah. I can't remember what it was. But so then eventually Pepper gets over there, and Pepper, I think this is the scene that was probably my favorite. I mean, the second was obviously the hammer thing, like Anthony was losing his shit about. But but that scene was so touching, and this is the part that almost got me to tears.
Okay.
Because as opposed to going like, "No, I don't want to lose you. I just no, we're gonna get you some help." Instead of that, Pepper does the 180, knowing what Tony has been through, and she looks at him as he's dying, and he's like just staring at her. Again, not saying much of anything at all. He actually doesn't say anything really. And Pepper goes, "Hey, we're gonna be okay. Like, don't worry about it. We're gonna be okay." And then the part that got me was she goes, "You can rest now. It's okay. We got it." And then finally, you see Tony kind of like take this deep breath, which was his last.
Yeah.
And then he goes. And then that's when Pepper starts to cry because she lost her husband and her best friend and all that. And the Spider-Man cries and Rhodey's there.
Do you think she would have known? Oh, well, she has the kid before, right?
See, okay, my thing, I thought it was a ballsy move. To me. I thought that since they gave him a kid, he wasn't gonna die. So I was like, okay, well, that's kind of his little death shield right there.
As soon as he said, when they go to no, that's what I thought. When they go to meet,
I like how you're talking to the iPad.
I pointed to the screen because I thought that was you.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
No.
Anyway, so when they go back to in the 5-year jump, when they go meet Iron Man about all the time stuff, and he says to Cap, he goes, "Hey man, listen, I want to help as much as I can, but if it endangers my family, that's where I stop."
Yeah.
Right.
He makes it very clear that his family comes first. He's got priorities. He's got responsibilities, and the family comes first.
Oh,
and
he's already had the kid. Okay,
right.
Never mind.
And
okay.
so, and the kid can't be changed out of time.
Right.
So,
see, because I thought it was the other way around.
Right. So after we have Tony's death scene, we jump to a funeral-like scene for Tony back at his cabin, and all the Avengers are there. We see. In the front, we see Happy Hogan, Jon Favreau, with their daughter Morgan and Pepper, and Spider-Man, and then the camera kind of slowly goes back into the crowd, and we see everybody who is still around. We see Falcon, we see Cap, we see everybody. We see Captain Marvel in the back. We see Nick Fury finally comes back, and then in case we all forgot about it, in the first movie, his original arc reactor, when it gets taken out, Pepper makes Tony a little thing that says, proof that Tony Stark has a heart, and gives it to him as a gift in the first movie. And they, as a memorial to Tony, they put that in the little lake that he lived next to and set that out. And that's one of the last scenes of the movie.
Also, the kid from Iron Man 3.
Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, he was there.
Is that the kid that was like in between?
That he saved, yeah.
Okay, I was trying to figure that out.
No,
I was like,
the kid that was helping him with all his PTSD stuff.
Okay. Because I did not understand that because I kind of missed over Iron Man 3, but okay, that makes sense.
It wasn't that good, but
that's the one with the Mandarin, right?
I think that's pretty much the whole thing.
Don't forget Captain America's ending.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well yeah, I mean but so after the funeral, they have to return the time stones Captain America, Falcon, and Bruce Banner, Professor Hulk, are explaining like, okay, Cap, you got to go back in time, put all the stones exactly at the point they were taken, and then we'll jump you back. To you, it'll seem like a long time. To us, it'll be like a couple seconds. So then Cap goes, okay, cool. He's got Mjolnir because he's got to return that as well. He's got the stones.
Yeah.
Then they send him back, and then Professor Hulk goes, okay, 3, 2, 1, whatever. And then tries to bring him back, and he doesn't come back. And then, of course, Falcon is like, hey, what the fuck? Bring him back. Bring him back right now. Like, what are you doing? And Winter Soldier is there, too. And the Winter Soldier gets Falcon's attention and goes, hey, look over there. And it becomes...
This is the scene that made me like, okay, missed opportunity, but I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So what we realize, much like with the Iron Man death thing very quickly, is that Cap decided to stay back in 1970, or at least he goes back to the time when he was put in the ice. We're not really sure, I don't think.
Right.
Yeah. But he goes back to have a full life with Peggy Carter, and he lives the rest of his life with her, and we see him as an incredibly old man who's probably at the end of his life. The super soldier serum, it looks like it's worn off. It's a miracle that he's lived that long anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And so they're like, wow, so you decided to stay, and they talk about that briefly. And then the biggest thing that happened with that scene is Cap gives his shield to Falcon, and Cap goes, hey, man, like, try it on. And, and basically it's Captain America passing on
the torch,
the moniker of Captain America to Falcon, who it's actually very comic accurate. He
because he gave it to Bucky too at one point. Didn't he?
Well, both.
Falcon, because Bucky,
but he dies.
Bucky was
right?
Captain America when he got killed. When Steve
when
got
he
killed.
dies,
Which I was hoping that would be the thing, but honestly, you're right, Nathan. It does make sense. And plus, if we go back to Winter Soldier, and we just saw how what Steve saw in Sam, how much of a patriot he was and everything.
Right.
I think he knew that it was going to be right to give.
And it was a nice little callback to the on your left moment that we got in Captain America: Winter Soldier when they meet.
Right. One of my favorite Marvel movies.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's where the movie kind of closes out, and we see the ending title sequence is really, really great. And for the first time in any Marvel movie, there is no end credit scene.
Yep.
And so they leave it totally open ended. The future is a big question mark. All we know is that Far From Home is coming out in June or July this summer.
That's where we come in. We come in and we.
And big news, guys! Marvel has hired MovieMan Productions to take over all of the Marvel universe.
This is why it's revealed here, guys.
This is the 2 years. The 2 years we've been building up MovieMan Productions.
We are kicking out Chadwick Boseman, and now Anthony Frazier is going to be the new Black Panther.
Oh yeah, fuck that guy. Let's get this guy that's not in shape to be Black Panther.
And the movie was so well done. I know this explanation has been incredibly long-winded, but there's too much to even talk about with this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Go see all the movies. Go watch Endgame. The movie was just so well done. Anthony, what did you think overall?
Overall, okay, so I'm going to make this quick because we got to start wrapping it up now. But I will say, great movie. Fantastic movie. I will say, though, the few things I didn't like, okay, I wasn't a big fan of the whole the time travel thing. I thought some of the scenes were cool, like when Howard and Tony got to meet.
Mm-hmm.
I liked seeing what's his face, Hank Pym, back in the 70s. The whole Soul Stone thing was kind of, to me, it was like, I mean, like, it didn't feel too impactful for me, but that was just me.
Yeah. Plus, we had just seen that in the last movie, so
exactly. Also, I didn't like how Thor was fucking like a slob throughout the whole movie. That kind of hurt.
The biggest thing with that was not necessarily that they didn't make him like skinny, super buff Chris Hemsworth again.
Yeah.
But the thing that made me really upset is they ruined his character arc. They've done such a great job with taking this ignorant, foolish young child that Thor started out in the first movie to him slowly having to work on himself to become this responsible, intelligent, and thoughtful king of Asgard. And Odin tries to teach that to him through all these lessons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, in Thor Ragnarok, with his people being threatened and basically all of them getting killed and him having to relocate, he started to become a good king at the end of Ragnarok, where he realizes what a good king is, doesn't seek out violence. They try to initiate peace and all this wonderful, wonderful character building through his movies. And they throw it away at the end of Endgame.
Not saying that Valkyrie is bad.
Well, here's the thing.
But
she had nothing to do with the kingdom at all.
No, I agree.
She came in Ragnarok and was this drunken, like, super bitch. Right. And it was awesome. It was awesome, and she's a badass.
Right.
But she had no business being the ruler of Asgard. That's it. They've set that up to where that was ultimately Thor's goal, was to become this incredibly powerful, wise, incredible king now that Odin wasn't around anymore.
Right.
And for almost no reason, because of everything he's been through, he just decides to go and find himself awkwardly with the Guardians of the Galaxy which is a weird mashup.
That's the only way I will see a Guardians of the Galaxy film now. Because
I don't think he's going to be there, though.
I hate that.
I think so. I think that's where he's going to end up.
What I think will happen will be that they're going to drop him off. Because I was talking to Nathan about this, and I was like, I don't know a lot about Nordic mythology, but he could go to a place like Niflheim. You know, the one that's in God of War, or some other type of.
I think they're straying him away from all that. I think Valkyrie might be like the. I think if they do anything with Norse stuff, it's gonna be all Valkyrie.
I don't know, man. I didn't like how they just forced that on everybody because again, I've said it a billion times. Thor is a god. The Guardians of the Galaxy are, for the most part, just regular people, and it just seems like a weird pairing. It was nice to have that kind of dichotomy between this like immortal being essentially and the Guardians of the Galaxy in Infinity War, because there was some comic relief and they had to get the new hammer and stuff, and it was cool. But I feel like because everyone liked that scene with them and Rocket and stuff, they just decided, oh well, let's just throw him with the Guardians. And then
I'll be down for that, honestly. Like I didn't, as you guys know, I didn't like the other Guardians of the Galaxy films, but I thought Thor was like a good, like,
Did you see 2?
I didn't even bother.
I remember that you didn't see the one with the ego.
You can go without seeing Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
But it's not that bad. I liked it.
No, I saw it.
I think you would like it.
But But so basically Thor says, I'm going to go and kind of figure out what it is I want to do. I haven't had this much freedom in a long time, and I think I'm going to like see what I want to do with my life, whatever I want to do. And so he gives over leadership of all of New Asgard to Valkyrie, and so now she is queen of New Asgard.
Also, let's not forget that Steve actually has the hammer and not Thor.
No, he returns it.
He probably returned it. He took it with him when he took the stones.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Well, Thor still doesn't have the hammer then.
Well, he would have had Stormbreaker.
Yeah,
but
Stormbreaker.
Wait, wouldn't he also have the other one since Mjolnir? Now? Yeah, Mjolnir. Because now it's like that never even happened.
No, that's not how the time.
No, remember they said that.
Oh
just
yeah.
Because
Okay, I keep doing the Back to the Future thing. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, that's not real, Ethan. Back to the Future's not real.
None of this is real.
So Cap took the hammer back and he took the Infinity Stones. But I don't know. The Thor stuff really just kind of bothered me.
Right.
It was the only thing that really stuck out to me like a sore thumb in this movie, where I was just like,
I would agree.
What are you doing? Thor. The movie started off rough. And they ended up forming him into this wonderful and more complex character, where he even talks about, his failure at the beginning of Endgame and in the middle of his scenes with Rocket in Infinity War. And I don't like that they just kind of decided to change that. It's like a very Rian Johnson level change
to his character. Man, bringing Rian Johnson into this now. Man.
But other than that, I thought the movie was wonderful.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Before we go, I did want to see Thor. I mean, not Thor. I did want to see Hulk duke it out with Thanos again.
I was hoping that
Hulk
he
ain't
would.
No bitch, but
I was really hoping
happen.
That he would at least during the big battle, he would have been like, now's not the time to have a brain, and then like Super Hulk out and like just start wrecking shop.
Yeah,
but that didn't happen.
What do you guys think is going to happen now? Essentially, like, what are your guys' ideas of it?
It's just going in a totally different direction, man.
To be honest, I'm okay with not even thinking about it.
Okay.
You know, and not just because I know we're trying to wrap this podcast up.
Yeah, no.
But also because, you know, for the first time in over a decade, we're back at square one.
Right.
Nobody knows what's coming next. They haven't teased anything other than like the Spider movie and the Black Panther, which again we know nothing about those things and how they relate to the future.
Yeah.
But we don't know what they're gonna do. Like they could do anything they want. They've got everyone eating out of the palm of their hands. Their movie made $1 billion in 3 days. You know, like they can do whatever they want and we'll eat it up. Yeah. And I'm okay with not knowing what they have coming down the pipe. You know, whatever it is, I hope it's cohesive as this whole decade was. It's been an incredible journey for everybody who's seen all these movies. Yeah, exactly. I mean, well done, Marvel. Really.
Yeah, they did it, man. They made history. And like I said earlier, guys, I really hope you guys didn't listen to the spoiler because I really want everyone to go see this in theaters because this is really a spectacle.
Yeah. If you've listened this far and you're still like, why are they spoiling this movie? Then you're a fucking idiot.
Go see Shazam. You need to go see Shazam. Okay, you're one of those people.
Yeah, okay, real quick. I will say I did see Shazam.
Oh, we can
and
do
it was
a review
actually
on
really
that.
good.
Cool.
I enjoyed it.
We can do a review on that because
next
I
episode,
have some problems with that.
Yeah, I do too. I got a lot of stuff. It's here in Oklahoma. It's like getting close to 1 a.m.
Yes,
so.
very much so.
Yeah. Okay. Well, guys, this was a good episode. I'm happy to be doing this.
Endgame was a great movie. We hope you guys enjoyed our.
I give it a 9 out of 10.
We'll talk to you guys in 10 years.
I'll give it a 2 out of 10.
2 out of 10? That seems great.
You knew everything in the movie. You're like 2.
Yeah, 2.
I would give it a 9 out of 10 as well. Almost a 10 out of 10.
Yeah. So we should check back in episodes to come about where Endgame is doing in the box office and see
how
for
feel
sure.
about it,
That'd be
what
interesting.
we've learned more about it.
But yeah, I think that's all we got, right? Boys?
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. That'd help us out so much. Make sure to check our
Anthony, are you okay? Anthony, speak to me.
I don't feel so good, Mr.
Damn
Heston.
you, Thanos! Right. Yeah, for real.
All right. Someone else send this off.
Okay, I can send this off. Well, thank you for listening to Movie Man Talks. We will be having more reviews and more things to come into the near future. Hopefully, without a snap.
Yeah, okay, that was the shittiest. That was like I don't know.
I think I was off.
We're
key
all
with
out
you
of
guys.
tune.
Everyone's
and
really
we're all
tired.
out of time. Thank you for
hope
listening.
You guys enjoyed this episode. Do all the stuff that the other two guys said. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
Toodaloo.